Welcome to the Explainer. Look, today we're taking the raw energy of a packed 3D stadium and using it to decode the beautiful game itself. Whether you call it football or soccer, it's absolutely the world's most popular sport for a reason. It blends super simple rules with just incredible unmatched passion. So let's jump right in and break down exactly how it works.
Here is our playbook for today. We're running through the beautiful game, the field of play, the starting 11, time and scoring, the laws of football, and finally, a deep dive to decode the offside rule. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The beautiful game. Before we even step onto the pitch, we really have to grasp just how massive this sport is. 5 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. That's the staggering number of people who watch the 2022 World Cup. We're literally talking about over 60% of the global population tuning in. The game is driven by an estimated 250 million active players spread across over 200 countries. It's the world's game, hands down.
So how'd we get here? Well, people have been kicking a ball around for millennia, but things really got official in Britain. Originating around the 8th century, the rules were finally codified in 1863 in London. And that was a massive turning point, because the Football Association, the FA, was founded specifically to separate football from rugby by outlawing carrying the ball with your hands. That bit of organization basically snowballed into the creation of FIFA in 1904, which still runs the whole show today.
Moving on to Section 2, the field of play. Let's look at the actual stage where all this magic happens.
The pitch is a massive rectangle, right? You've got touch lines running up to 130 yards and your shorter goal lines. You'll also see markings like the center circle for kickoffs and the penalty area hugging each goal. But here's a crucial rule to remember. The boundary lines themselves are strictly part of the playing area. That means the ball has to completely cross the touchline to be considered out of bounds. If even a tiny fraction of that ball is hanging over the line, play on.
All right, Section 3, the starting 11. We've got our stage, so let's meet the cast of characters.
You've got exactly 11 players per side built in 4 main layers. Step 1. The goalkeeper. They're the last line of defense and the only player on the pitch who can use their hands, as long as they're in their penalty area. Step 2 builds out the defense, your center backs and fullbacks acting as stoppers. Step 3 brings in the midfielders, right? These are the playmakers connecting everything and controlling the rhythm. And finally, Step 4. The forwards, the strikers whose whole job is burying the ball in the back of the net. And how a manager stacks these layers, like your classic 4-4-2 or maybe a punchy 4-3-3, is what we call their tactical formation.
Section 4, time and scoring. So how do these 11 actually win, and exactly how long do they have to pull it off?
90 minutes. That is the magic number. A standard match is a continuous 90 minutes split into 2 45-minute halves, with a quick halftime break. But here's a huge difference from American sports. The clock never, ever stops. Ball goes out of play, clock runs. Foul, clock runs. Substitutions, you guessed it, the clock keeps running.
And because that clock keeps ticking, we rely on stoppage time. The referee acts as the sole timekeeper, mentally logging delays and tacks those extra minutes onto the end of the half to make up for injuries, subs, or VAR checks. That's why you'll see a stadium clock read 90 plus 4. Fun fact from the sources here, added time was actually invented way back in 1891 after a team deliberately kicked the ball out of the actual stadium just to run down the clock.
Now, when it comes to scoring, there is one absolute non-negotiable rule. The whole ball must completely cross the whole line. A goal only counts if 100% of the sphere passes between the posts and under the crossbar. It doesn't matter if it's a messy tap-in or an absolute rocket from outside the box. If it doesn't entirely clear that line, no goal.
Which brings us to Section 5, the laws of football. To keep things fair and from descending into total chaos, refs enforce a strict set of laws.
Look, we all know the big one. Absolutely no hands for outfield players. But beyond that, it's all about highly specific restarts to keep the action flowing safely. Ball rolls over the touchline, boom, throw in. A defender commits a foul inside their own penalty area. The attacking team gets a penalty kick from just 12 yards out. And if the ball completely crosses the goal line without a goal being scored, it triggers either a corner kick or a goal kick, just depending on who touched it last.
All right, Section 6, decoding the offside rule. It is time to step into the VAR film room. We're going to break down what is arguably the most misunderstood law in all of sports, FIFA Law 11, offside.
At its absolute core, this rule is just here to stop cherry picking.
You're in an offside position if you're closer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball and the second-to-last defender. Now, since the goalkeeper is almost always the very last opponent, this basically means you can't be hanging out behind the last line of outfield defenders when the ball is passed forward to you.
Check out the visual difference here. On the left, our attacker in red is perfectly flush, perfectly level with the blue defender at the exact moment the ball is played. Totally legal. Onside. But on the right, look at that. They've illegally drifted in advance, past that last defender right before the pass happens. They are offside.
But, and this is a huge takeaway for you, merely standing in an offside position isn't actually illegal. See the player on the far left? Technically, they're in an offside position. But, because the ball is being played to a totally different teammate in the middle, that offside player isn't involved. You literally have to interfere with play or bother an opponent for the ref to blow the whistle.
And timing is absolutely everything. The magic phrase in the rulebook is when the ball is played. Elite forwards will actually hang out in an offside spot on purpose, just hiding in the defender's blind spot, and then time their sprint so perfectly that they burst back into a legal onside position at the exact fraction of a second the ball leaves their teammate's foot. It's just a brilliant, high-speed game of cat and mouse.
Now this is super interesting. Passing backward or sideways completely breaks the offside trap. Look at the right side. Even if both of those attackers have totally blown past the last defender, the guy receiving the pass is completely legal as long as he's strictly behind the ball the moment it's passed. Bottom line, you cannot be offside if you're behind the ball.
But things can flip in a split second. Let's say you take a shot. A teammate is just chilling near the goal in a passive offside position, not doing anything wrong. But if the goalie blocks that shot and deflects it right to that teammate, suddenly that attacker is committing an offense. Why? Because they gained a massive geographical advantage from standing in an illegal spot when the initial shot was taken.
And just to sprinkle a little chaos into the mix for the refs, there are 3 massive exceptions. The offside rule is completely thrown out the window when the ball restarts directly from a goal kick, a throw-in, or a corner kick. So on those 3 specific plays, attackers can stand absolutely anywhere they want. So that brings us to the end, and I've got to ask, which position suits your tactical mind best? Now that we've covered the sheer scale of the sport, the geometry of the pitch, the roles of the starting 11, and the absolute art of beating the offside trap, where do you belong on the field? Are you a goal-hungry striker, a tactical center back, or hey, maybe you're cut out to be the referee? Give it some thought the next time you tune into a match. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.